From the cradle to the grave, hospitals have always played a major role in the life cycle of a human being. As far as ghosts are concerned, few sightings are ever reported at these establishments. Some researchers theorize that when most people are admitted here, their lives are already undergoing serious health complications, whether it's due to illness or old age. It very well may be that people almost expect to die in a hospital, unlike a tragic or traumatic death when a person dies in a sudden and unexpected manner. However, one such hospital located here in Granada Hills once served as home to a mysterious ghost who, as you will see, was not as camera shy as most poltergeists. In 1988, things started to bump in the night at this hospice where terminally ill patients are housed, as strange reports of ghostly apparitions began to circulate among the hospital staff. Overnight nurses frequently witnessed glowing apparitions floating down the corridors of the hospice unit, while others reported having their clipboards jerked from their hands as if by an invisible force. Perhaps most amazing of all were reports from dying patients who claimed that they were visited at bedside by spectral figures that seemed to reach out and touch them in a comforting manner.
It gives you a sense that maybe the next time you hear something or you look over your shoulder, maybe you're not alone.
While many were frightened by these occurrences, others were determined to get to the bottom of whatever was haunting the hospice. While hospitalized at the facility in 1988, Andy McElroy claimed to have witnessed objects fly from tables and heard strange scratching noises coming from the walls of his room. Happenings that attracted the attention of his friend, Daniel Hobbitt, who had made it his business in the past to investigate claims of the paranormal.
My friend told me about experiences that the nurses were having with clipboards and pencils flying through the air, with call lights coming on from rooms where there were nobody in there, about apparitions that would come to comfort the dying in this particular hospice unit and let them know that the other side was okay.
Daniel was no stranger to psychic research. It was here in this Moorpark home that he captured this mysterious black figure in a bedroom, said to be haunted by a former occupant.
I was panning the area and focused in on an antique picture. As I pulled the camera back, what later appeared, as we viewed it, was what is to be known as a black articulating mass in the shape of someone or something.
Although not visible to the naked eye at the time of this amazing recording, the apparition seems to materialize out of thin air. Each haunting that Daniel investigated seemed to bring on its own set of challenges. It was no different that day in 1988, when Daniel, camera in hand, made his way down the hallway of the hospice to visit his friend Andy.
I called my friend Daniel Hobbitt, and I said, look, I know an awful lot of stories have been told about people who've come back after they died to help other people dying, and so on. And I said, this would be a great time to come over with your camera and see if we could pick up something.
After meeting with Andy, Daniel learned about a certain room down the hall that some of the day shift nurses were afraid to go near. Members of the hospice nursing staff were particularly startled when objects began to move inside this storage closet after the room had been locked up the night before.
And in this particular storage room, he had told me that they had seen many occurrences, felt a presence of something.
Walking down the hall, Daniel asked a nurse on staff if he could leave his camera locked up in the storage closet while he went to lunch after visiting his friend Andy. Agreeing to do so, Daniel mounted the camcorder atop a tripod, loaded it with new tape, and left it running during the time he went to lunch. Upon leaving, the room was locked and all lights were turned off as the camera was left running in the dark. It was a long shot, but would it work? After Daniel left, the camera quietly whirred in the storage closet. Somewhere in the silence of the room, something waited for a chance to show itself. When Daniel returned to retrieve his equipment an hour or so later, little did he realize the shock awaiting him.
I went back and I had the nurse reopen the door, took the camera and reviewed it. And what I saw at that time was something amazing.
After checking the first hour of his recording and finding only blank tape as he'd expected, something else suddenly took shape that no one in their wildest dreams could have imagined. There on the tape, an amorphous thing appeared, resembling a soft, shimmering glow that suddenly, without warning, turned into a human face.
Dan said, "Oh my God, look at this. Either I'm crazy or that's a face."
It was a face that seemed to come out of nowhere. It started off as a little ball of light and materialized into what seemed to be the features of a man.
So I hailed one of the nurses who was walking in the hallway, brought her in, and I said, "Look, my friend thinks maybe he's seeing things."
And I said, what does this look like to you? She goes, it looks like a ghost, and laughingly. And I looked at Andy and he looked at me, and we knew what it was.
Is this the face of a lingering spirit somehow trapped within the walls of Granada Hills Hospital? Or is it something else? Extensive computer enhancement by Steve Neal, an accomplished visual effects artist, failed to turn up any hint of fraud.
I think what this footage represents is the possibility that this man has actually captured a poltergeist-related phenomenon on tape. I don't think he meant to do that. I don't think he knew what he was going to find when he put that camera inside the closet. I don't think he expected to find this.
Steve spent several days subjecting Daniel's footage to a rigorous series of tests, utilizing state-of-the-art image enhancement software. Since the original image appeared dark on tape, Neal successfully improved the luminance ratio of the image, allowing us to see the face with even better resolution than before.
Now here's the footage. You can see the face clearly. This has been enhanced, color dropped out. You'll see how the image fades away, and then very slowly but surely it starts to reappear, but not everywhere at once. It starts to appear here at the head, goes away again, comes back, and then you can actually see the torso appear down here. It's pretty strange, and it almost looks as though the head bends forward.
Steve became even more startled when, upon analysis, he noticed that the face changed shape from frame to frame.
There you can see pretty much a very fuzzy but very normally distributed human face. And in one frame, it goes to something that looks much more appearance-wise like some kind of monster or skull with these big roundish dark orbits to the eyes. The nose actually appears to be shorter. There seems to be some kind of frown in here and a mouth here. The cheekbone shape has even changed, and if you notice that the jowls have diminished, and you're just starting to see down here the hint of some kind of body. Now I'm going to go back to the previous frame again, and you'll see. I mean, it's almost as though it's two different images entirely.
Unfortunately, the identity of this lost soul may never be known, since the hospital no longer allows paranormal researchers inside.
What it did to me was reinforce my belief that there's truly something out there, something more than meets the eye.
But still, one must wonder what really happened 15 years ago when this stranger from the other side wandered in front of Daniel's lens in the haunted hospital of Granada Hills.